We're here in Monte Carlo for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre. For Everest TV, I'm Richard Banks. And I'm joined now by Juan Andrade, who's the President and CEO of Everest Group. Juan, welcome.
Thank you, Richard. Pleasure to be here.
So we're here in Monte Carlo, lots of conversations on a variety of topics, but we're hearing particularly about the availability of reinsurance capital. What can we expect from the forthcoming renewals?
Sure. Look, I think from the perspective of the market, nothing much has really changed since the January 1 renewals of 2023. There's still a sizable gap between supply and demand that really has not been closed. As a matter of fact, we continue to see more pent-up demand from our cedents, from our customers. So I think as a result of that, you are going to continue to see pricing going up, attachment points stay where they are or maybe even higher, and terms and conditions to remain tight.
So there was some talk at the 2023 1/1 renewals of a disorderly renewal. Is that going to continue?
I think this renewal is actually going to be more orderly simply because people now understand expectations. I think discussions have been having well ahead of the renewal. I think the difference to the 1/1 of 23 is the market changed dramatically quick. When we were here a year ago, the discussions were a bit different. Then 2 weeks later, Hurricane Ian hits on September 28th, and then it was a very changing market at that point, and I think that led to a more dislocated renewal. I would expect that this renewal will be a bit more orderly, but as I said, I think pricing will still continue to be up, attachment points will be up, and terms and conditions will remain tight.
So how have the expectations of the reinsurance buyers changed?
Good question. I think the expectations are for exactly what I just described. You know, the conversations that I have with cedent CEOs and their buying teams, they recognize the environment. They recognize that the natural catastrophe environment has not fundamentally changed. We're already $60 billion in industry loss in the first 6 months, and this has been a very active quarter, right? We have Maui wildfires. We have wildfires in Canada. We have the earthquake in Morocco. We have a number of other things, all the hurricanes that are out there churning in the Atlantic Ocean right now. So I think they definitely understand that. I think they also understand the heightened risk environment that we continue to live. And it's frankly one of the reasons why there's more pent-up demand for reinsurance right now. So I think we're in a very stable environment from the perspective of expectations.
So a number of those events that you discussed there seem to have less insurance penetration perhaps. Is there something that the reinsurance industry can do to perhaps close that protection gap a little bit?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. You know, and I think that's ultimately when you look at economic loss versus insured industry loss, there's always such a sizable gap. And it really does depend on the geography, the demographics, frankly the GDP of a particular country. Our job is to provide protection as an industry, and we should be able to do everything that we can do to make sure that people are protected in the event of these events.
So is there more that the reinsurance industry can do to make sure it's serving the needs of its clients?
Absolutely, and I think we're doing it, right? We are deploying capital, now albeit at higher pricing and different terms and conditions and attachments, but we have been deploying capital. And one thing that's important for your viewers to remember is that it's our capital in this industry that really restores economies and countries and peoples back to normal life. It's not the government. That's the role that we play.
And to back you up, what's the attitude of investors to the reinsurance sector at the moment?
I think the investors are very positive. You know, we just went through an equity capital raise earlier this year in May, and the support for that was phenomenal. And the reason is they know that right now in reinsurance, you have companies like ours with very good risk-adjusted returns. We just generated a return on equity of over 22% in the second quarter and an annualized total shareholder return of over 25%. You can't really do that in many other industries right now.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Richard. Pleasure to be here.
For Everest TV, I'm Richard Banks.